So let's take a look at some of the things that people do with their phones in Japan. It could be anything from taking pictures and video and sending it to somebody. It could be reading books. It could be reading comics through a little viewer application. It could be mobile social networking services, playing games, whether they're downloaded or played online. It could be downloading music and listening to it on the go. It could be listening to the radio, watching TV, downloading video streams, watching video streams or downloading video content. Could be using a search engine to look up something that you want to check out when you're out there, finding your way with navigation system, redeeming coupons at stores, paying for stuff, ordering a pair of shoes on the web, what have you. So it could be very many things, but of course if you really want to, you could still make a phone call, and some people actually still do. So as a result of all these crazy things happening, Japan is really the world champion by any measure in terms of mobile web services and mobile data revenues. First of all, they have the highest overall average return per user per month, so the average Japanese gets a mobile phone bill costing him somewhere around maybe $50–60 per month. More importantly, around a third of that comes from just data access, which is certainly in terms of non-messaging data revenues much higher than anywhere else in the world. And if you look at pretty much any other market, you'll notice that even though data revenues may be high, the Philippines is a great example for that, it comes mostly from SMS. And in Japan, 85% of the data access revenues are non-messaging revenues. The Japanese government did a survey a while back, which is really, really interesting, I think, because they basically looked at, okay, how many people use which device to access the web. And they found that overall, you've got around 85 million people using the internet in Japan. This was a couple years back. And only about 50 million of those use only their PC to access the web. The vast majority, around 60 million, use both their PC and their mobile phones to access the web. And you even have close to 10 million people who use only their mobile phones to access the web. More importantly, the percentage of people that only use PCs is shrinking, about 10% on a year-on-year basis, and the mobile-only usage segment is growing by about plus 45% on a year-on-year basis. So we're seeing a shift where the mobile phone, to some degree, is already a more important access device than the PC, if you want to take a look at the web. A slightly less optimistic, but nonetheless very interesting study is this one, which basically shows you that the number of people that access the web from home PCs compared to the number of people who access it from their mobile phones has always grown pretty much in line, pretty close to each other. But for the first time in 2006, the number of people who used their mobile phones to access the web actually exceeded the number of people accessing the web from home PCs. Now, of course, you also have office PCs. If you factor that in, then PCs overall are still a slightly more important, more common way to check out the web and to use it. But I think it's certainly an indisputable fact that the mobile phone is a really, really important device. Now, if you look at things not from a device perspective, but from a media perspective, if you want to count the mobile phone as a medium, which I think it certainly is, then you'll notice that especially among young people, the mobile phone is by far the most important medium of all. TV is also relatively important, the PC internet is certainly important, but mobile phones are the one thing they would never ever give up. If you want to check out this chart in detail later, but let me just quickly mention that if you ask people what they do in their free time at home, the number one thing is watching TV, but the number two thing is usually using the mobile web. And I think in many cases, people are actually doing both things at the same time, because Japanese television can be pretty terrible. We did a little study a while back because we wanted to find out how intensively young people actually use the mobile internet. And we found that around 60% of mobile web users between 16 and 24 use it more than an hour per day, and a pretty astonishing 25% use it more than 3 hours per day. So they basically couldn't be doing much else.